Welcome back, everybody. E3 2016 Day 2. We are here at the Shacknews booth. My name is Cassidy Moser. Joining me today from the Game Bakers is Mr. Emeric Thoa, and he's here to show us Furi. So, Emeric, give me just a brief rundown of what Furi is for people who might not be familiar.
Yeah, sure. So, Furi is, first of all, a boss fight game. You fight only one opponent at a time, but it's not boss fight like you would expect from a game like God of War. It's not a crazy, gigantic creature. They did it well. We're not going to beat them at this game, but it's boss fights more like you would imagine, more like a duel. It's an opponent that's your size, your type of power, and you fight him for a reason, and he has a reason to fight you. So that's that kind of way, but it's only boss fights.
And before we started the stream, you were telling me that you had some guys from Platinum Games and some of that all coming to show up. So would you say that this game is influenced by some of those types of action games?
Yeah, absolutely. You will see when I demo the game. The game is very Japanese in its visual, but also in its game design. It's very responsive, it's very tight in its balancing, very skill-based, and obviously it was influenced by a lot of Japanese games, like the ones with cool characters and boss fights like Metal Gear Solid, No More Heroes, God Hand. These games had a lot of influence and yeah, impact on Furi, of course.
Perfect. Well, let's start it up here and see what we got going on. Yeah, go ahead and walk us through just kind of the start here.
So I'm gonna start a new game, and as we will see in the introduction sequence, you start the game in a jail, and you are being tortured by a character, the jailer. So that's where we start. So we are in a cyber fantasy universe. It's a universe where you can have guns and powers, but it's all energy based. There is no explosions, no fire, and you start in this jail. You are being tortured by a mysterious jailer, and that's a very strong reason for you as a character to be willing to fight your freedom and not being tortured as well, which is not something we usually like. And there is a mysterious character who is freeing you. You are tortured. You cannot escape. But as we will see, a mysterious character with a rabbit mask is telling you, "Man, I'm gonna free you. We need to get out. You're gonna get hurt more. They want you nothing good. Let's get out." And he gives him a sword and a gun. And the whole story of the game, which is very important, it's not only an action game. There is a strong story. Is about finding out why you are here in this jail. Initially, who are these jailers and what they want? Why do they want you to stay in this jail? And who is this mysterious rabbit masked character who freed you? So that's a mystery, and that's what keeps you going on and fighting these guys until you figure it out.
Perfect. Yeah, I really like the future-y cyber look of it. It's kind of got like a Tron vibe to me in a weird way. What were some of the influences on the art style itself?
So the art style, as you've seen, the character design is very Japanese, and we've worked with one of the best character designer in the world for this game, because it was a game about characters. We only fight one boss at a time, so the characters needed to be perfect. And we worked with Takashi Okazaki, the creator of Afro Samurai, a very famous animation, and he made incredible character design. So I was super excited each time I got an email, in my mailbox with the little attachment icon, and I was like, looking at the drawing appear on my screen. And each time I usually sent him a brief with, okay, this is the backstory of the characters, this is the gameplay that I want, so he needs to have this weapon and this weapon, and then he sent me these drawings, and all the time I was redesigning new ideas from the little details that he put on his designs. Sure. So that had a very strong influence on the art.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So here I'm starting the game. I start far away from him, and I need to to shoot at him and weaken him. So I can shoot in all directions like in a dual stick shooter, and I need to weaken him, and when he is weak I can hit him and enter close combat. And in close combat I need to parry and protect myself, and then I can counter attack. If I try to button mash into his guard, it's not gonna work because he's not stupid, he's gonna see it coming. But if I parry, he's vulnerable, and then I can counter attack. So it's more a counter attack game than an aggressively button mashing game.
So you have to be like patient.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be patient, you have to be precise, you have to get the right timing and to get the good reflex as well. And then I can charge my abilities. I can charge my shot to deliver a stronger shot that's gonna knock him down. Okay. And I can also charge my sword attack. So I charge it, then I stun him, and I can deliver a strong melee attack. Sorry, I charge and bam! I can break his guard and stun him. And you can also charge and dodge. Keep your charge prepared and dodge and release it later on to be able to avoid an attack or something dangerous. And the last thing that is very important is the dodge ability. So dodging in the game is very important, and it's very fast, very powerful. I can dodge over anything. Projectile, bullets, attack on the ground. I can charge it to go further, and it's very important to avoid the obstacle by dodging. And then again I need to weaken him and reach close combat. And when he does these attacks on the ground, the red ones, I cannot parry them. I need to dodge away, and then I am in his back and I can punish him.
Yeah, it's interesting mixing up ideas of this bullet hell sort of twin sticky shooter with close quarters combat. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was from the beginning. I knew that if we were to do many bosses, we needed the depth. You know, if you don't want each fight to be the same, you need enough game mechanics to make it last and be different each time. So that's why we have the shooting and the sword fights. It allows us to make very different fights between each boss. Some will be more about shooting, some will be more about the sword fights, some will mix a little bit of both. So that's about depth, and that's very important for me.
And now you mentioned the boss fights themselves, because this is a game mostly built around boss fights, correct?
Sorry?
This is a game built mostly around boss fights, correct? Kind of like harder duel types like fights?
Yeah, that's really it, and that's why the character itself, the player abilities, they don't evolve in the game. It's really about mastering a set of skills and being able to practice it and to get better. And the bosses will change and have new challenge, bring new difficulty to the game. That's why I always compare that to learning how to play an instrument. Imagine your character is a guitar and he has 6 strings and he doesn't evolve, and each boss is a partition, so you practice it, you get better, and when you master it you can finally beat him, and you can reach another boss which is a new partition basically.
Okay. Now how long would a fight normally last? Like, I know this is kind of a slice. Do you have like multiple health bars that you'd have to work through on a boss, or?
It depends. Some bosses are longer than others, and also it depends the player's skills. But if for an average player, I would say a boss can last between 15 minutes and an hour. Sometimes more, but sometimes rarely less than 15 minutes. A boss fight, in my mind, is a unique fight that is also a struggle. If it's too short, then it's not a boss fight, you know. So you have to struggle a little bit. Here, the gameplay is tight. It's not that punitive, but it requires a lot of reflex and timing. But we tried to make it really fair. So the keyword fair was very important. You need to know when you fail, when you're game over, why you fail. Like you press too early, you press too late, you button mash too much. So that's really important.
Now I noticed the main character is starting to glow red, and he's kind of changes between blue and red glowing. Is that like a charge move, or what's going on there?
So exactly, when you glow green, it's because you are gaining some life back. So if you make a successful parry, you gain some life back. So that's a big risk-reward situation. If you fail your parry, you get hit. If you succeed, you get some life back. And the yellow glow is a boost that you can charge, and it's more powerful attacks that you can trigger. So you're vulnerable when you charge your boost, but if you manage to pull it, then you get a super strong hit in return.
And then are there upgrades, or are there different weapons you can pick up over time? Or
no, that's really the skills of the players that are the things that evolve, and the bosses themselves. They all have different powers and abilities.
Yeah, that seems cool. So it seems to me like the cadence so far is kind of use projectiles to stun them or to get in close, and then use the sword to kind of take them out in smaller things.
When you reach this stage where you are close to the opponents, you cannot escape. It has either him or me who's gonna fall and be knocked out. And when you manage to kill him, basically, you take one square out of his life bar, and you also gain one back for yourself. So yeah, the goal is to deplete all the squares from his life, and some boss have more or less squares, but yeah, and here I reached the last one, so he's gonna get a bit angry and throw at me a lot of attacks, so I need to survive this fury that he's throwing at me.
Is that where the name comes from, Fury?
No, actually, design-wise, we call that a Fury with a Y.
Okay.
But you've noticed that Fury, the game, is written with an I, and it has a meaning. Okay. It has a secret meaning that players will discover when they finish the game.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's on purpose that it's written F-U-R-I.
Yeah, this looks like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's very difficult to speak and look at you while the game is playing on my right.
You're doing 100,000 times better than I would, so that's a good thing. You're making it look way better.
Practiced a lot.
So how many bosses total are in the final game?
Well, I rather keep that a secret, because you know it's gonna spoil the story and the surprise for the players. But what I can say is, I think for normal players, depends on the skills, of course, but it's gonna be 6 to 10 hours long to beat the game. But once you finish the game, you unlock Speedrun Mode, where you can play all the bosses without the story, without the cutscenes, in a row, and you get a time at the end and a ranking in the leaderboard. And you also unlock hard difficulty mode, and this mode is not at all the damage and the life bar that have been increased. It's the patterns, it's the defense, the timings, everything is redesigned. So it's really a new experience for really hardcore gamers who want a new challenge.
Yeah, I feel like there's been kind of a resurgence in games that have hard bosses lately. I mean, you have Dark Souls and, you know, Bloodborne and all those, but then there's also like Titan Souls and some of the indie side of things that really focuses on that, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, the thing is, because we are a smaller studio, you know, we are 20 people, we have worked on this game for 2 years. It's a lot of work, but it's not the same as, you know, AAA. We will have 400 people in the team working for 4 years. So what we wanted is to make something as great as they do. So we decided to make one thing, but to make it really well. So that's why we decided to make a boss fight game only, and we don't have the upgrades, we don't have the experience points, we don't have the AI, the little minions that you can kill on the way to the boss.
Sure.
It's only one thing, it's a boss fight, but at least we hope it's as good as the best games that we love.
Looks like, did we reach the end of the demo here, or are we going into...
That was the end of the first boss.
Okay.
I can keep going.
Yeah, go for it. I'd love to see more. So I also noticed that it looks like there are cinematic QuickTime events.
Yeah, very few actually, and it's always it's not QuickTime events in the sense that you have to press a random button very quickly.
Okay.
It's always the same thing of wiggling the sticks,
Okay.
and it's always when one character grabs you and shakes you. So it's really physical, and usually you can prevent that from happening. So if you parry or dodge the attack, you're never gonna have a QuickTime event. But if you get grabbed, then yes.
I think it's kind of a God of War way of approaching a boss fight, where you get like that cinematic look at it, and it can be really cool. It can kind of play up the gravitas of it.
Yeah, it's also cool to have the character get close and just shake you up, punch you. So that part of the game is another part, is what we call the path. So in between the fights, because they are very intense, very exhausting, you have this part where you walk towards the arena, and you know a boss is waiting for you, and the rabbit mask character is teasing you about the fight. He's building up the tension, warning you, be careful, this one, she's crazy, she's gonna rip you apart, and you get this tension. And I used to do boxing, and before I go to the ring, and I was sometimes scared, you know, because everybody's scared to go on the ring and get punched, even the very strong ones.
Of course.
And I used to put some music on my ears, kind of try to warm up and get ready and get the fear away. And that's a bit of the intention here. The music slowly ramps up. The guy is coaching you, he's telling you, get ready, it's gonna be a tough fight.
It's kind of like walking out to the ring, get out there.
Exactly, that's exactly the idea. And it's also a kind of a break for the player to get ready, because he just got out of a very intense fight. You need, you know, to pace the experience. So that's part of the intention here.
That's awesome. It's funny you say that. Now I'm kind of seeing the parallels between. I have friends that are professional fighters, and
Oh, yeah?
yeah, I do. I see kind of the parallels between it. Now that you mention that, it's interesting. I like that.
I was not a professional fighter. I was a very amateur, average one.
It's the same thing. You still got to get in there. It's scary. I get that. Oh, that's awesome.
So here I'm very close to the arena, and we're gonna discover the next boss. And as you'll see, she's very different. She's a little bit creepy, this one. But not all of them are like that. Like, they're not all evil, and that's part of the mystery of the story that you discover. They all have a reason to fight you, and that's what is interesting. It's not good versus evil, it's a bit more...
more abstract.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, it looks like we'll have enough time to kind of get a look at her, and we can tease it for everybody here. I like that.
So as you see, the arena is very different from the previous one. It's still a circle, but you have walls and pillars and stuff on the ground that's going to be interactive. So it's also something that makes a boss different from another. The level design, the arena, the size, the gameplay elements.
This isn't looking good. Yeah, there's kind of a cool, like, anime-ish feel to it. I like that a lot. Oh, man.
Jeez.
Perfect. All right, and I think that's going to wrap it up.
All right.
But thank you so much for showing this off. It looks awesome. When is it? Do you guys have a release window or date? Or
Yes, it's actually releasing very, very soon, in early July, on PC and PS4.
You know how much the price is at this point?
Yeah, actually, we are. I mean, it's not final. It's not my only decision, but we are targeting for $25.
Okay, awesome. Well, Furi, guys, check it out. Looks really cool. Cassidy Moser, Mr. Emeric Thoa, thank you so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Stay tuned with us. We're going to do a wrap-up show coming up next.